o'clock. Here is the midday news. First, the top stories. Amosun says he will support Yewa Agzi's candidate for Ogun 2019 governorship. House of Representatives asks presidency to revisit abandoned Iwekoro Airport project. Justice Minister cautions pro-restructure Nigeria's agitators. Senate finally passes the new anti-corruption bill. On the foreign scene, 80 people killed, 350 injured in vehicle bomb during rush hour in Afghanistan. And UN warns that Yemen is collapsing after years of civil war. Good afternoon. I am Chienye Egwuonwu, bringing you the details of the news shortly. Now the news in detail. Governor Ibikunle Amosu of Ogun State says he would like his successor to come from the Yewa axis of the state. He promised to oppose candidates from Ogun Central Zone, but will not support or campaign against candidates from Ogun East Zone in the Ogun State 2019 governorship race. Amosu, who gave this indication in Abeokuta at the inauguration of the Local Government and Local Council Development Areas Advisory Committee, says it is time to allow the Yewa axis to produce the governor of the state. Amosu also says he had received reports that some aspirants outside the state are planning to come back home to join the 2019 governorship race. National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives says public hospitals in Ogun State need additional 4,000 nurses and midwives to function effectively. According to the association, about 4,000 nurses in the state and federal hospitals in Ogun State had either retired, left the service for greener pasture, or died between 2012 and 2017. The acute shortage has now brought the number of the nurses serving in the hospitals to 3,000 nurses, as against the 7,000 nurses in the hospitals 5 years ago. The association state chairman, Mrs. Roslyn Shulami, who gave the statistics in Abeokuta at a news briefing to mark the 2017 International Nurses Week, says the number of nurses and midwives employed in recent times is far below the number that had left the civil service. The shortage, according to Sholari, is more acute in view of the recent expansion of units in the public hospitals, which has increased the workload of the existing nurses. The House of Representatives has asked the Aviation Ministry to revisit the abandoned federal airport project at Iwekoro near Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. The House, in a resolution passed following a motion moved by Ibrahim Isiaka, also asked the presidency to comply with the Memorandum of Understanding which was signed on the project by paying compensation for the farmland acquired for the project. In the motion, Ibrahim says the abandoned project includes an airport, a pilot training school, aircraft maintenance facility, general aviation facility, as well as helicopter and air taxi shuttle operation. Due to the abandonment of the project, he explains that criminals had taken over the perimeter fencing of the 5-kilometer by 5-kilometer land acquired for the project. The House mandates its aviation committee to find out why the airport project was abandoned and report back in 6 weeks. Intending pilgrims from Ogun State to this year's Hajj in Saudi Arabia are to pay 1,561,943 naira for the pilgrimage. National Hajj Commission of Nigeria (NACON) releases the Hajj fare payable along with those of 20 other states and the Federal Capital Territory. Intending pilgrims from Osun State are to pay 1,548,153 naira, while Oyo will pay 1,584,069 naira, while those from Ekiti are to pay 1,525,191. The Commission also announces an $800 basic traveling allowances for all the intending Hajj pilgrims. Or blackmail. In a constitutional democracy, Malami says restructuring is not carried out by either advocacy or agitation, but through constitutional accommodation or constitutional amendment. The Justice Minister spoke on the growing agitation for restructuring in Abuja a think tank conference on federalism and challenges of dynamic equilibrium, organized by the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. To the minister, reforms and modification of institutional arrangements, systems and process in a federal system cannot be effected at once, as being advocated in Nigeria, but through democratic means. The coroner set up by Osun State government says late Senator Isiaka Adeleke died as a result of overdose of drug administered on him. The coroner Olusegun Ayilara in his ruling in Osogbo declared that the nurse, Alfred Adelibebe, who administered the drug without doctor's prescription, was responsible for the death of the senator. Supporters and political associates of the senator had alleged that he was poisoned at a public event by his political rival ahead of the 2018 Osun State governorship poll. Senate has finally passed the anti-corruption bill, which also aims at tackling the cross-border crimes, including money laundering. President Buhari, shortly before traveling to London, had expressed concern over the delay in the passage of the bill by the National Assembly. The bill, which was passed on Tuesday, will fast-track the identification and recovery of the proceeds of crimes from other countries. It repeals the Money Laundering Act of 2011, expands the scope of money laundering, protects employees, and stipulates appropriate penalties. It is now left for the House of Representatives to consider the bill. You're still listening to the Midday News on Rock City 101.9 FM. Up next, we bring you foreign, business and sports news. Do stay with us. In foreign, a powerful vehicle bomb has hit the diplomatic area of the Afghan capital, Kabul, during the rush hour killing of at least 80 people and injuring 350. It struck close to the German embassy in Zambak Square, with civilians said to be the main casualties. The wounded staggered from the site of a blast so strong that it blew out windows and doors hundreds of meters away. No group is yet said to have carried out the bombing, but the Taliban and the IS have both been behind the recent attacks. Makeshift ambulances carried wounded away from the scene as frantic relatives gathered at the cordoned-off perimeter of the blast site. Sri Lanka says Wednesday floods and landslides set off by the monsoon rains have now killed at least 202 people. The latest update from the country's Disaster Management Center said 96 people were still reported missing, while nearly 80,000 people were displaced in temporary shelters. The rain began drenching the country late last week, with flooding and mudslides destroying hundreds of buildings and homes, and also covering the roads and farmland. The effects have impacted around 630,000 people overall. Sri Lanka's army, the navy and air force have also been working to deliver aid and help rescue those in danger. The United Nations top humanitarian coordinator has said Yemen is facing a total social, economic and institutional collapse. Stephen O'Brien was speaking to the UN Security Council, telling members that urgent action is required. Yemen is in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, with almost 7 million people on the brink of famine. An outbreak of cholera has also killed 500 people, and the UN expects 150,000 cases in the next 6 months. For the past 2 years, the country has been embroiled in fighting between forces who are loyal to the internationally recognized president, backed by a Saudi-led coalition, and the Shia Houthi rebels. Nestle Nigeria plc has asked the real investors to emulate its confidence in the Nigerian economy. Chairman of the company's board of directors, David Ifezulike, made the call in an interview with Rock City FM on the sideline of the company's 48th annual general meeting in Lagos. According to him, Nestle opened a new manufacturing plant in Nigeria last year because of its faith in the Nigerian economy. He expressed satisfaction that Nestle was able to swim through 2016, despite the harsh climate of economic recession, while optimistic that the performance of the company will further improve this financial year. Despite the economic recession, Ifezulike says Nestle in the financial year ended December 31, 2016, recorded an increase of 13% in its operating profit and declared a mouth-watering dividend of 10 naira for every ordinary share. Finally, sports news. Manchester United is the most valuable football club in Europe, being worth about £2.6 billion. That's according to Business Services Group, KPMG. The Europa League winners topped the KPMG's analysis of top sides, the enterprise value, putting it ahead of Spanish giants the Real Madrid and Barcelona. The study analyzed broadcasting rights, the profitability, popularity, sporting potential, and stadium ownership. In the study of 32 teams, English clubs dominate, filling 6 top 10 places. Andrea Satori, KPMG's global head of sports and the report's author, said the overall value of the football industry had grown over the past year. Former Nigeria coach Samson Siasia has advised Alex Iwobi and Kelechi Iheanacho to leave Arsenal and Manchester City to have more playing time ahead of the 2018 World Cup. The players have both struggled for regular game time in the Premier League this past season, and Siasia wants to see them leave the big clubs and become regulars elsewhere to ensure they are fit and firing for Nigeria's 2018 campaign. Siasia says nobody is happy with the huge talents of Iheanacho and Iwobi. They did not play many matches for Man City and Arsenal. That was the midday news, and just before we go, the major stories once again. Amosu said he will support Yewa Adze's candidate for Ogun 2019 governorship. House of Representatives asked Presidency to revisit abandoned Iwekoro Airport project. Justice Minister cautioned pro-restructured Nigerians agitators. And Senate finally passed the new anti-corruption bill. On the foreign scene, we also told you that 80 people killed, 350 injured in vehicle bomb during rush hour in Afghanistan. And UN has warned that Yemen is collapsing after years of civil war. For more stories and to listen to us live, please log on to our website www.rockcityfmradio.com/live. I am Chienye Egwuonwu. Thank you very much for listening.